All right, friend, welcome back to Archetype. I'm really glad that you guys are here. We are stepping into a new 6 day window, and for this stretch, the sun is moving through gate 49, gene key 49, hexagram 49, codon 49. It's called the catalyst, and this one will call you out if you have been living in reaction instead of choice. Let's dive into this. If you've been snapping at people before you even know why, if you felt that like hot surge of absolutely fucking not rise up in your chest before your brain even catches up, if you've been in fight or flight mode over things that don't actually threaten you, nothing has gone wrong. 49 is showing you where your nervous system is still running on old survival code, where you're reacting from memory, and it might not even be memory from this lifetime, instead of responding from presence, from choice. So this activation, this weather pattern that is showing up right now, is also offering you a key to revolution. This is a kind of revolution. It doesn't burn bridges. It transforms the bridge. 49 is called the catalyst. It's called revolution or principles, depending on the system that you're using. I want to be super clear about something right up front. This activation, this gate, isn't about being triggered as a personality flaw. It's about recognizing that reaction is a pattern that's sort of baked in. One that was useful once, super useful, but it is probably not anymore. 49 moves, the gene key 49 moves from reaction to revolution to, at the highest level, rebirth. The shadow of reaction. These are emotional reflexes that protected you once, but are now causing division. This is like rejection energy. It's us versus them thinking. At its core, this shadow is a response to fear. So it could be a fear of betrayal, a fear of rejection. For sure, it could be a fear of change. Instead of responding from wisdom, we start to react to the outer world with judgment. The gift being revolution, this is about principled change. This is aligned boundaries and transformation that is really rooted in clarity instead of rage. I think it's very important that we take a look at this theme right now with what's happening in the world. This is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is transformation that's rooted in compassion and a vision for the future. So true revolutionaries use emotional intelligence to unify rather than divide. Let me say that again. True revolutionaries use emotional intelligence to unify people. We need to be unified rather than divided. And then the highest level of this, the Siddhic level, is about rebirth. This is very sacred transformation. The complete transcendence of emotional reactivity. At this level, the person has undergone such a transformation that their entire identity shifts. Those who embody this siddhi hold space for humanity's future. And they really serve as a bridge between the world that was and the world that is coming. This gate lives in the sign of Aquarius. We're still in Aquarius season. The sign of the future and the collective. And Aquarius doesn't want change for change's sake. It wants evolution. So it's asking you, what serves the collective? What moves us all forward? But the thing is, you cannot revolutionize anything when you're still reacting to it. God damn it. Revolution really requires presence. It requires you to feel the fire without letting it just burn you up crispy fried. It requires you to know the difference between a boundary and a wall. Here is the biological piece that is pretty cool, in my opinion. 49 corresponds to codon 49, which codes for histidine inside the body. Because it's happening in your body during this gait, it's not separate from what is going on inside of you emotionally. Histidine is essential for growth, tissue repair, producing red white blood cells, supporting your immune response, regulating pH levels. But the key is histidine is the precursor for histamines. Histamine is the chemical that your body releases when it detects a threat. It's involved in the inflammation response, affects digestion, neurotransmission, and how your immunity responds. So when gate 49 is active, your body becomes a little bit more sensitive to what it reads as danger. And that danger might not be physical, but we might still be reacting like there is a tiger in the room. So things to kind of be aware of, like the danger might not be physical, it might be the tone of voice, a boundary that is being crossed and you feel it inside your system, or that someone else's energy just feels off to you, or maybe your system is reacting to change happening quote unquote too fast, or maybe you're feeling emotionally unseen or dismissed or betrayed. Your system reads it all as threat. And histamine then floods your body before you've even had a conscious thought about it. And honestly, that is manifestation at its finest, how thought produces matter. That chemical reaction was not happening before you had the pattern, whether the thought was subconscious or conscious. So that's why people could experience during this time, and don't be looking for these. But come back here if you're experiencing them, like skin flare-ups, digestive weird stuff, snapping at people, loved ones, just feeling inflamed in general, which causes like overreactions. Your immune system and your emotional system are talking to each other, and they're both asking the very same question. Is this safe? The problem is that your nervous system doesn't always know the difference between actual danger, emotional danger, and imagined danger. So it treats them all the same. Histamine just floods, adrenaline spikes, and then your body is bracing for impact. So you notice like you've got so much tension in your body. Maybe you're probably not breathing very well. But when it's in balance, it brings healthy emotional resilience. You have discernment in making choices. You have access to choice at all, and the ability to protect your energy without feeling like walls go up. So you're not closing off your heart here. This gate lives in the solar plexus in human design. That's the emotional center. Biologically, it's tied to the kidneys and the pancreas. The kidneys are connected to fear in traditional Chinese medicine. And when they're under stress, you feel it as anxiety, hypervigilance, or this kind of constant feeling like something's off, something's wrong. The pancreas regulates blood sugar. When it's dysregulated, you get energy crashes or mood swings or cravings. It's quite literally the sweetness has gone out of life, which makes emotional reactivity much worse. So if you're feeling shaky or irritable or hungry, but nothing sounds good, you're potentially craving sugar or just feeling emotionally volatile, that's not random. That is your body trying to regulate itself under a perceived threat. So the medicine here is really simple. Keep your blood sugar stabilized, support your kidneys, calm your nervous system down with whatever techniques you enjoy. That's why we tap here, because you can't make aligned decisions from a dysregulated body. 49 often carries inherited patterns around loyalty and betrayal, justice, injustice, and what happens to you when you speak up or you stand your ground. On the genetic level, this can show up as fight or flight overdrive, as like constant readiness for attack or betrayal, even when it's not happening, right? energetic armor, really, really challenging to let your guard down. Could be inherited struggles with change, resistance to transformation due to a fear of it being destabilizing. And on the ancestral level, you could be carrying cultural imprinting around loyalty and betrayal. So the fear that evolution means abandoning your lineage. This could be inherited wounding around the ideas of justice, so ancestral memories of injustice that then start creating hypervigilance in this moment. And then collective trauma around conflict. I think everyone who's listening to this could immediately see how this shows up. If your ancestors lived through wars, which we did, all of us, revolutions, systemic oppression, those patterns may linger in your field. So during this transit, thoughts like, if I leave, I'm a quitter. If I change, I'm betraying my people. I don't necessarily know when to hold on and when to let go. Those thoughts can kind of rise up quietly. And this is not the universe testing you. It is your system asking to update an old agreement about what and who is loyal, safe, and has integrity. 49 is about principled interdependence. Sorry, let me say that again. 49 is about principled interdependence. You can stay in relationships and still evolve. You can honor where you came from and choose a different path. We talk about this a lot in human design, in my human design readings, as conundrums, right? Having to honor two truths within your system of how you're designed that might inherently knock heads with each other. Like, you're quite the hermit and you really need community. Those two things buck up against each other, and you have to learn how to honor both, just as an example there. So what this might feel like over the next few days. So first, emotional reactivity. You might notice yourself snapping or withdrawing or just feeling that sharp, like, I do this, like, absolutely not. Energy that rises up in you faster than usual. Your tolerance for bullshit is going to be lower. Your patience for tone policing or passive aggression, gone. That is not you being too sensitive. That is your nervous system saying something here is not safe anymore. And the key is, can you notice the reaction before you act on it? Second, the stay or go question. Do I hold on too long because I'm afraid of the emotional energy of change? Or do I quit too soon because the intimacy required to actually work through this is too much? So both are fear responses, both keep you stuck. Holding on too long looks like staying in relationships that compromise your value, or upholding old agreements that no longer serve, or defending ideas that you don't even actually believe in anymore. So quitting too soon is going to look like ghosting at the first sign of conflict, leaving the relationship before it gets real, or sabotaging before you've even given it a chance. So the gift of revolution is asking you, what if neither is the answer? What if the real move is to stay present long enough to know what's actually true, and then act from that clarity? Third, this idea of principle versus pattern. Am I holding the boundary because it's really aligned, or am I just defending an old truth because it feels really familiar to me? This is where the gift of revolution really wakes up. You stop fighting for outdated structures, and in fact, we don't fight at all anymore. And we start standing for what actually serves life. So instead of resisting the old, we just move in the direction of the new. We focus on the new. And it is incredibly challenging to do right now. A lot of people that I am talking to in the different groups I'm a part of are all struggling with this more than we would like to admit, right? We are really addicted to thinking about what we don't want and looking at the problem instead of looking at the solution. And there's a very different energy there, and you need a little bit of space between you and it. And that's what this is really talking about. So, fourth here, inflammation, physically, emotionally, relationally, things might feel hot or swollen or reactive, and your body is asking you what needs to be released so that something new can form here. So if you're snapping at your partner over something small and kind of realizing halfway through that you're not actually mad about the dishes, you're mad about the pattern. The problem is usually not the problem, it's how the problem is being addressed that is the problem. The reactive move is to blow up or shut down or leave. The revolutionary move is to pause and name the issue and make a very clear request or a boundary. In parenting, you may notice yourself being shorter with your kids than usual. And this isn't because you're a bad parent. It's because your nervous system is maxed out and it's telling you, I need some support. So the reactive move is to yell and then guilt spiral and then numb out. The new move is to ask for help, to take a break, or to name what it is that you actually need. Same with work. Maybe you're tolerating a dynamic that doesn't respect your energy or your time. And suddenly you just can't tolerate it anymore. It's like, it's done. It's time. The revolutionary move is to have the hard conversation, to set the boundary, or to make the strategic exit if necessary. The reactive move is to quit in a blaze of glory, or to be really fucking passive aggressive and check out. So with money stuff, holding on too tight or spending really impulsively, same. Hoard it or blow it. Could probably make a fun sexual joke there. Making financial decisions from a regulated nervous system, not a triggered one, is new. So from the energy work that I do, the framework here about reaction versus proactive, and I'm actually going to create just a whole little side bonus episode on this. 49 is the poster child for this reaction versus proactive split. Reaction says, I don't have a choice. I'm stuck in this story. I'm reacting to life instead of creating it. Proactive thought says, I am fully responsible for my experience. I can shift this at any level, and I know how to return to the truth. So reaction isn't bad, it's just unconscious. The paradox that comes up here is like intimacy versus self-protection. True intimacy requires your vulnerability, but vulnerability requires safety. And if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it will choose self-protection over connection every damn time. And that's not wrong, that's survival. So again, why we never want to guilt ourselves for this stuff coming up. If you're always in self-protection mode, you're never going to experience the intimacy that you're actually really, truly craving. So the revolution looks like this: responding instead of reacting. If you feel the heat rise up, you notice the urge to snap or shut down, and then instead of acting on it immediately, you pause. You have very principled boundaries. You set them rooted in value. And you hold on with love, not aggression, right? I had a long conversation with a friend yesterday about boundaries being permeable, and otherwise you have nobody in your life. But it's tricky. That's its whole separate conversation. So revolution at its highest is actually quite quiet. Reaction is not the enemy. Reaction is information. The revolution says that I can feel this fire without letting it burn everything down. That's the thing that I think a lot of us miss. The people who create the most powerful revolutions in the world aren't the ones screaming the loudest. They're the ones who stay present long enough to know what needs to change, and then they change it from a place coming from love. So the higher move here, pause before you react. Not to suppress, not to bypass, but to choose. Is this response coming from now or from then? Am I protecting myself or am I protecting a pattern? What would aligned action look like here? So what that looks like in practice is feel it first. Don't skip the emotional part, but let it move through your body. And honestly, when we get used to doing this, it is wild, the sensations that the body creates that we ignore or suppress. if we could allow ourselves to even let the quote unquote negative emotions feel good, because they are kind of thrilling and honestly, we're addicted to them anyway, but the point is not to act on it yet. And then two, to name it. What is this reaction actually about? Name the core feeling underneath. And then choose your response. Once you felt it and named it, you have space to choose. Regulate your nervous system if you need to before you make a move, before we take any action. So then you're aligning with a higher principle of asking yourself, what am I standing for here? When you know what you're standing for, your actions become much clearer. So we're going to integrate this with some tapping because we're definitely not trying to erase fire. We are just trying to help your nervous system hold it sustainably. All right, I will see you in part B here in just a moment.